Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kenda Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have Marianne. Marianne has a bomb drop of January of 2020, a date of marriage of 2007. She now has an off and on. He's been a clinging boomerang in the past, but he has been more of an off and on lately with what seems to be some clinging tendencies when they do have contact. He's a high-energy replayer. The divorce was finalized last year at the new year. So bomb drop, and a year later, there was a very fast divorce. It was filed and final pretty quickly. She says, my ex-husband went from being an extreme clinging boomerang, and he was extreme, to hardly any contact. He bought a house together with the alienator, and they live together with her 4 children. Now, this alienator, to update you, is not the original alienator. He started dating her either just before or just after the divorce was filed or finalized. So she came in at the end. And Marianne said it seems more legitimate. She's not like an alienating type of force. She's not a mate predator, basically. This might be a real relationship. That can be scary. But it's good for us to know going in. He has their picture as his WhatsApp profile, and he looks extremely happy. But in January, he told me he missed me. This is where I said that he still is clinging. In January, this is 6 months ago now, he told me he missed me and he had broken up with her. But 2 months later, she sold her home. They both bought a family car, or in other words, they bought a family car together. They live together and they go on holidays. He's wearing a ring. Contact with his kids, who are adult kids, is improving, and also with friends and family. It feels like he's coming out of it, and he's choosing his new life. No contact at all with me for almost 3 months, and I don't anticipate it. We have nothing else we share anymore. I keep on moving and living my own life, but I find it harder to stand as he's taken such a different turn. I start to think this is it. And I accept it and I close the book. I've deleted his number, but then I restored it again. I find it painful to see the pictures, but also difficult to cut him off. Do you have any advice? I don't know if I have advice of cutting him off other than that you keep doing what you're doing because you're on the right track and it's a process that we get used to through time. Or it becomes the new normal, even if we don't like the new normal. And what I want to talk to you about is, you said it seems like he's coming out of it. And when I talk, I am very wary. I don't want people to think that I am saying, oh, just hang on a little bit more. Just hang on. Oh, yours is doing really well. I don't want to give everybody this hope that theirs is going to be the one that comes home, especially when they have been clinging boomerangs. Because clinging boomerangs are the ones who are more likely to reconcile with you. But first thing, you need to decide what you're going to do. I have this hope that every marriage can be restored. I'm not idealist, but I know that it's not going to happen. So I want you to do what's best for you, what you feel is best. If you feel the urge to keep standing and you want to, then do it. If you don't, then don't do it. When people are on the fence, I lean on the, okay, let's look at, since why are you on the fence? Let's hang on a little bit. But I want it to be what you want. And so I'm very wary that I don't want you to interpret it or others listening to your story and then applying it to theirs, that I'm saying, oh, come on, you could do this, hang on, they're coming home. Because that's not what's necessarily happening. The majority of the people in our MLC world that you're going to meet on the forums, they're not going to make it to reconciliation. And many of them are going to choose not to. But even if they had chosen that, their spouse might not have ever chosen anyway. So I want you to make up that decision for you. And given that caveat, here's what I'm looking at here. You say it feels like he's coming out of it. Here's why I'm not buying that fully. He's only been in 2.5 years. It doesn't feel like that long when I look back at the situation. He's been in it 2.5 years. They had a very fast divorce. He was a full-on, extreme level clinging boomerang for the first year. And then it seemed very sudden almost of a cutoff, but he didn't really cut off. Every time he communicates with you, he is still clinging. And I think that he does have residual empathy for what's going on. MLC still have empathy. Many of them, it's lower levels than others. And he does. He has been staying out of the way due to some respect for you to heal, things like that. But as I was reading through your question last night, it got me to thinking of something that I hadn't thought of before. And you all may know how I often say if they go into MLC and they get yanked back out early, near the beginning usually, they are very likely to have another MLC years later. It's usually years, and it will be worse. And for those of you who haven't heard that, if they seem better and then 3 months later they're back in again, that is not the same thing. That's just MLC cycling. I'm talking about a 5 and often a 10-year gap where you think things are better. Maybe they're great. Maybe they're not. But then suddenly it all happens again after a full-on regular life between these. And it's worse. It's so much worse. And in many ways, maybe because he's been a clinging boomerang and still needed you and been very cordial to you, I see him as, I wonder if he's found a very nice person. And he's found a nice life. And it could be, imagine that you had met somebody and you didn't know it, but they were in a midlife crisis. But you're the new person, so it's all good. And it seems great. And they're fun. And you date, maybe you date for a few years. And then you get married. And then suddenly, bam, years in, and this might be some of us, there's a midlife crisis because maybe being with you helped pull them out so they didn't go into and continue through on the transition. And so what if that's also what's happening? And what I'm saying is this new lady and her 4 children might be getting involved with somebody who is great right now. It seems like he's coming out of it. He's settling on this new life. What's going to happen to them in 8 years, though? That's what I wonder. I wonder if he's going to go full crisis on them. And I believe he's had a pattern of abandoning. I could be wrong on that one, but I think in memory with this situation, I think that's what we've talked about. So that thought on it, it doesn't mean that he's settling on this new life. I think that he might have stalled his transition. So there's an arrested development that could be going on. I don't know that. That's just kind of a thought that I had with this. Now, for you, I think you just need to do the same thing you're doing. I keep moving on with my life. You find it harder to stand because you don't share anything in common. You don't have common life, not values, but clusters. You don't have family that you have to stay with because you didn't have children together, that sort of thing. So there aren't those reasons for you to stay involved. Be involved with your passions and keep moving forward. You're going to think about it. Why shouldn't you? You don't want to forget your past. We forget our past, we repeat our past. Hold it in your heart and hold the good things. Sure, not all of our marriages were perfect, but there are many of us we had a good marriage. That was good. Don't let this soil what was good and start saying that was a really bad marriage to a really bad person. No. If you were good for 25 years and then you had 3 bad because there was a bomb drop and they were a jerk and they filed for divorce and it stretched out, don't let those previous, that new stuff sully the previous. Don't let them ruin what was real. And so you can keep that and hold it in your heart. And if you'd like, maybe come up with some form of a ritual type of rite, like a rite of passage, that you can do to honor the ending and beginning of what has been going on in your life. What can you do that feels like a closure, but also feels like something that you're adding beauty to it, that holds on to the memories, and then you move forward. And you keep working on those detachment things because not all about detachment. It's about mindfulness and about living fully in peace and harmony and joy in each moment. And I know you've been making excellent progress on this. Okay, Marianne? So I hope this was helpful for not just you, Marianne, but for everyone else. And I will see you in the next question.